a couple of years ago is when we really started this discussion about where's the population of our country gone in the last 10 years, where's it headed in the next 10, and so the principles were developed. If we're going to add anybody, what's it going to help us do? We talked about academically, athletically, and the culture and all that fitting, and is it going to grow our footprint in population? And so these two schools, when we added Nebraska, these two schools were actually on the list, and it's something that we talked about. We talked about a whole bunch of schools, including these two. Now fast forward to today, just taking a look at the landscape, taking a look at those factors. They were both interested in joining. The timing seemed right, and so here we are. I don't want to create a crystal ball, but right now, no, there's no talks going on specifically about is there someone else we're going to add. When we added Nebraska, I didn't predict that we'd add more at that time. But as the landscape changes, it's hard to predict. But at this time, there are no other discussions going on. It's been an exciting couple of days because we've added two great partners. Now the hard work begins. We have to figure out, what is or isn't going to change in the divisions. How many games are we going to play in each sport? Those types of things. And we're going to have to begin that in earnest now here, probably right around the first of the year, as soon as possible. What do we want to protect? I mean, there's certain rivalries that our fans get excited about. Distance, certainly the closer, the more likely it is that there's fan excitement. At the same time, there's balance in competitive. And that's what we looked at last time. So I suspect we'll go through a similar process to that we went through when we added Nebraska, which is to just talk about all those factors. We'll get to put our preferences in at Iowa, but then we'll have to live within the greater good of the Big Ten movement. Interestingly, I've heard reports that people are doing math and all of a sudden dumping a bunch of money into the conferences, which then would theoretically dump a bunch of money into the schools. And the reality is there's no more money on the table today and in the near future, in the next few years, because of this move. Long term, is it possible? Yes. I'm not naive to say that the goal would be to grow everything. But short term, there is no additional income. Longer term, when the TV contracts are renegotiated with a larger footprint, certainly the goal would be to grow the number of eyeballs that get a chance to watch the Hawkeyes and the Big Ten, and then the number of dollars that might come along with that. But there are no guarantees, no numbers, and for sure in the short term, no additional income. What I say to fans is I see the same things probably they do. Would I love to play Minnesota every year and now Nebraska and Wisconsin and in some cases Illinois or and again, it's mostly related to geography, I think. And then there might be some other rivalries that have come up over the years because of just big games or consistent games. You mentioned Michigan State. We've certainly had some thrillers in football against Michigan State over the last few years. So what I suspect we'll do, again, we haven't started yet, but what we did in Nebraska is each school sort of created a list of their preferred protected list, and then we had to sort of navigate through that, and everybody had to give a little bit. Everybody received as much as they could, and it all has to be for the greater good of the Big Ten. Isn't that great? I mean, I look at it that way, and I think our coaches do too. If it makes us better as a conference, if it increases our competitiveness in the conference, to me that's exciting. That's one of the reasons you do this. On the same token, back to your travel question, it's going to be longer and it's going to go up, and we're going to have to account for that financially and the way we travel and making sure the budgets increase with the increased travel. If our country is changing in terms of population, if you look at the last 10 years in demographics, the growth has occurred to the east, to the south, and to the west. In the Midwest, much less so. And so this discussion began with that in mind. Should we grow the Big Ten footprint so that 30 years from now, 40 years from now, we aren't left standing saying, why didn't we do something? So it's a little bit visionary, but then once we said that, now what are our principles? Well, it has to be academically, it has to fit athletically and culturally. And we feel good about the move toward the bigger population base. We feel good that it's still contiguous to the Big Ten, and we feel good that the academic and the athletic cultures we feel are going to fit the Big Ten.